Hey YouTube, Alex here. In today's video, I'm actually going to be doing another corn snake series video, whatever you want to call it. My last video pertaining to 3 tips before you purchase your new pet corn snake. A lot of you guys really seem to like that video. It's not out of the question to say hundreds of videos on YouTube pertaining to how to set up an entire corn snake cage. Despite all of those setup videos on YouTube, I am yet to find a video pertaining to the most important parts that go into a successful corn snake setup. And so I am not talking about your caves and your decor or making the setup look pretty, but I'm talking about the functionality for both the safety of the snake as well as you as the keeper who are monitoring your pet corn snake. So without further ado, let's dive into tip number 1. So big surprise for tip number 1. I'm bringing back my my Herpstat 2 unit here. When you are setting up any heat source for a pet corn snake, you need to have it controlled by a reliable thermostat. The Spider Robotics models such as this are super nice because you can see all of your high and low record temps and whatnot. It really just makes, I can see that my thermostat's on its day cycle. You can even see how much power is being put to your heater. I currently turned the fan off in my reptile room, so the room's starting to get really hot, and that's why my heat tape that runs below here is reading warmer than what it is set to. And so as you previously saw, there is no power being applied to the heat tape, which is giving my snakes the belly heat they need. Truthfully, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have a good thermostat like this. If your heat sources are not regulated, you risk your snake burning. You risk your house literally setting on fire because of a malfunction heat pad, radiant heat panel, light bulb, ceramic humidor, whatever you are using to give your snakes heat, be it ambient heat, belly heat, or anything in between, you have to use a thermostat. And this is one of those pieces of equipment that truly you cannot afford to cut corners with, because if you cut corners with your thermostat, you're more or less risking a fire and something really bad happening. So there's your first tip. Every corn snake setup needs a good, reliable thermostat. Tip number 2, locks, people. Do not use weights. I am sick of seeing old, outdated care guides where people will have like a screen tank and they put weights on the top of it. One of these days, you're gonna forget to put the weights on there and your snake is gonna get out. By using locks, you can ensure that your snake can't slide the door open. You ensure that nobody else can enter the enclosure, and it's providing more of a safety feature for both your snake from hurting itself if it were to get outside the enclosure, as well as you as the keeper. The last thing we need is to hear another story about an escaped snake. I realize this tip sounds pretty stupid, and some of you might be thinking, well, duh, that's obvious. However, there are a lot of care videos out there that do not emphasize the importance of a locking enclosure. It's $10 on Amazon for a display case lock, and that will ensure your snake stays in its enclosure. Alrighty guys, so for the last and final tip, the biggest thing that I cannot emphasize enough for your new corn snake is having an enclosure that is easy to access for you, as well as easy to access as far as removing the snake from the enclosure. I understand that this enclosure to some people seems pretty bare. I would like to think it's pretty good. I've got a lot of enrichment, a lot of different textures, a massive basking shelf with a lot of trends in herpetoculture being towards naturalistic setups and bioactivity. I think that's great. Like, I don't want people watching this to think, man, this guy's hating on bioactive setups. What concerns me is that in an enclosure that's bioactive or really naturalistic, it can be difficult to take your snake out of there. And so what I mean by that is, what if you get a snake that you see blood in the feces one day and you need to get your snake to a vet, and your snake is inside a cork tube that's about that big around? That makes it so impossible for you to get the snake out without damaging the cork tube. Whereas instead, you can provide dark hides like this Exoterra rock, and I can instantly lift it up and access that snake. I've got this really cool, unique piece of driftwood that Chili likes to sit under here. I can literally lift it up and access him if need be. The point is that yes, naturalistic decor is great, but in the event of an emergency, what if your house catches on fire? I know it sounds kind of scary to bring that up, but you have to be prepared in an emergency situation to evacuate your animals. And if your corn snake, like I said, is 8 inches deep into a cork tube, you're not getting that animal out in time before the fire burns your house down and you with it. You need to sort of consider the options of providing naturalistic enrichment and a really nice enclosure for your snake, but not going so out that the benefits of said overdone enclosure will cost you your snake's life later down the line. And I realize it kind of sounds sad, but it's something that I don't see addressed enough in the reptile hobby. Yes, I love big naturalistic enclosures. Chili is in this beautiful 4-foot cage, but at the same time, knowing that in the event of an emergency, I could reach in there and pull them out, as well as all of my other animals that I keep. It's just something that has to be considered. And like I said, I don't see a lot of people mentioning that on YouTube. I'm not trying to be a downer again. Obviously, we're all wanting the best for our animals and we want to be successful. But in the event of disaster, you need to ask yourself, can you save your pet snake? Alrighty guys, it looks like Vegas has tucked his head in and he's trying to be camera shy. I just wanted to wrap up this video and say thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button. And I hope you guys found this video helpful. I'm not trying to deter anybody from keeping a pet corn snake. I think they are wonderful animals. I've had Vegas and my other corn snake Hash for the past 12 years, so they've been with me for quite a while. One of the most rewarding pet snakes that I've ever had the privilege of keeping. I understand corn snakes are common and there are a lot of cool options, but between their ease of care, docile nature, and small size, they really just are a perfect snake in my opinion. If you find a really nice video on YouTube on how to set up an enclosure, take the tips that I have mentioned as far as a quality thermostat, a locking enclosure, an enclosure where you can have decor that makes accessing your snake fairly easy. You will have a corn snake that will thrive for you for many years to come. I'm Alex. This is Vegas. See you in the next video. Adios.